What's up, guys? Our Wrestling Podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious, along with Just the Total Package and Craig the British Bulldog, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Today's topic, our favorite Sting moments. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at our wrestling channel. On social media, can you give us a follow on Instagram at O.W.P.
Undertaker,
or on Facebook and X at our wrestling podcast. That's funny because when I look up Sting moments and things when I do research, there's stuff. Has Sting ever wrestled the Undertaker? And I'm like, oh my god, like come on, knock it off. This is terrible. Craig, we're redoing this for you. We actually did this already a week ago, and now we're doing it for you because you're back. Welcome back, buddy. We missed you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's going to be better with you in it. So
I just want to say to the fans out there, yes, I had pneumonia. Yes, I was in the hospital. Send your cards and letters to Craig at O.W.P. house.
And you'll get a little yellow bracelet.
Yeah.
It writes you back.
Yep.
It writes you back.
But no, I love that. I said it before, and I'll say it again. We'll say it all through February. This is Sting's month. And God, we're going to miss him. We never appreciated him. We talk about it all the time. Like, all of us together, like in our whole group of people, no one's favorite wrestler is Sting. I don't know many people whose favorite diehard wrestler in the history of wrestling is Sting, which is crazy to me.
I'm sure there are a lot of them out there, but it's just never,
Yeah, but the older we get and the more we kind of talk about wrestling and stuff, like underappreciated, undervalued, and we're only seeing it now. The dude's 67 years old on AEW, doing table bumps, which is not necessary. He took to the hip of Darby Allin and got him out of his shell. I just love him so much, and I think this is a fantastic way to celebrate Sting. Like, obviously, we have been wrestling fans for going on 30 years, so we have now traversed the entire legacy of Sting and the entire thing of Sting, and he's the only really last man standing that's still wrestling. And I love this,
right?
And we should do more of it. Like, and just
to be official, I know you were shooting from the hip on the age and joking a little bit, but he's 64 years old.
Yeah,
wow.
64.
Yeah, I love it.
After 40 years, what Sting's been in? Like, when does he debut? When's the Blade Runners? 89, 87?
Right.
No, before that, way before that.
Yeah,
he was in
mid-80s.
It was like 85, 86.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That's 40 years, people.
Mm-hmm. It's almost as old as I am.
He was in Bill Watson, and when the sale happened, he went to Crockett in late 87. So he was pretty,
Okay,
right.
So Jess, how are we supposed to get favorite Sting moments? Okay, you tell me out 40 years. How are we
It's hard, right? We're probably gonna do a part 2, but I wanted to do it as part of this or whatever. We'll do like 3 rounds. We'll do whatever. We'll keep it nice and short, but it's whatever moments that we want to do that we think are our favorite Sting moments. We're not ranking them. We're not doing anything like that. We're just gonna say
whatever you
stuck
like
in our heads.
What do you like, man? Yeah.
Thank you.
Who wants to go first?
Thanks for talking me down.
I'll go first real quick, just because I'm going to start it out with something modern. I did this on. I'm not going to speak of the episode that we recorded, so Dave, you might hear some repeats. I'm going to go to All In, AEW's All In from Wembley Stadium in 2023, which was this past year. His entrance, they used "Seek and Destroy" from Metallica, and there was a year and a half. In WCW, all of 99, they actually paid for the rights, WCW did, for Sting to come out to Seek and Destroy. So a small audience that are around now remembers him coming out to Seek and Destroy, which is a really fucking cool song and a really awesome entrance for Sting in WCW. People remember the Surfer Sting and the Crow kind of ambience music or whatever from WCW, which was also awesome too. But from 99 to like 2000, he came out to Metallica Seek and Destroy. So when he came out to Wembley, people popped big for Sting, but the crowd didn't really pop big for that song. And I was like, God, we're old. Like, this is only 1999, right? And if you do the math, 1999 was a long time ago. And for only a year, like a year plus, Sting came out to this song. So of course everybody forgets it. But I remember watching Sting coming out, and me as a fan, I remember like my eyes got like watery, and like I just was I was smiling in my living room and watching him come out to Seek and Destroy. And it was such a small part of Sting's legacy, the Seek and Destroy. But for that small part, and Tony Khan, you could say what you want about him. You could say whatever you want, but he's a fan. And so he purposely went out and said, I'm going to get the rights to Metallica Seek and Destroy so Sting can come out in front of 80,000 people at Wembley Stadium. And that was just last year in 23. So I'm going to start off with something modern. To me as a fan, I got water in my eyes because I was like, dude, like, man, like, it's awesome as shit. Like watching Sting walk out to that. Like, it's a small part. If you're a big Sting fan, which we all are, Craig, I know Craig said that we didn't he wasn't our number one. Like my guy was Hogan, Joe was Flair, Craig liked the Bulldog because he's from England, Dave liked Kurt Angle and he wasn't even born at the time. But I mean, like, there's just we didn't like. I remember those things, and I remember Sting's run in WCW, and he was the only constant in WCW. We talked about that, on our Vader versus Sting episode and our Legacy versus Sting, and I feel that's one of my modern favorite moment, and to have a moment like that touched me modern, like, a year ago, I love because like he's still making me happy, Sting. So I will open it up with all AEW All In Wembley Stadium. Seek and Destroy entrance was badass.
Jess,
like,
that is actually that's wonderful. Actually, that is that's perfect.
And their opponents, that is Darby Allin, and this is the legend. This is the icon. This is Sting.
Well, I can definitely say this. It's Sting! I think
Justin Roberts did it better, Tony, unfortunately. You're not going to get his job.
Sting and Darby Allin from ominously prowling the streets of Whitechapel.
Take a look on your screen, though. The Fireflies are here.
To the Seek and Destroy Sting, like that is like you could have picked anything from this thing, and like to go like, and I'll go ahead and go a little bit backwards from that. And I think we'll go back further than that, but I think that is just a beautiful moment that you just picked there with that touch. Mine is actually Sting's debut in WWE, which it in the whole grand scheme of things, not great, right?
No, I disagree with you.
Fans,
I don't want to cut you off, but like, no, his debut was, you're talking about Survivor Series?
yes, 2014.
That was awesome. I get your run, his run you're saying was underwhelming, but that moment is awesome. So go ahead, finish.
There is something, because it's something we dreamed about. It is something. Okay, so 2014, we'd known him since, I don't know, 88, 89. Mm-hmm. So we're still talking 14 plus another 12. So 26 years to wait for him in WWE. And I'm sure we read about it in the dirt sheets. We probably knew. I was trying to picture whether it was a surprise or we knew it was coming. I'm sure we knew it was coming. We did know it was coming because he did the WWE 2K14. He had an interview before that. I think it was inevitable. And maybe the moment that he did this was a secret, but it's the moment we always wanted. It was the moment like Sting in WWF. Mm-hmm. And then that Survivor Series and Triple H is beating up it was Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins. Sting comes out, they draw it out. Sting death drops Triple H. They could have done it better, but in my mind, just to see it happen, and I don't remember where we all were. Did we see it together? We might have been seeing it together on the network or not. I don't really recall.
I think we saw it. We didn't see it together. We saw it on the network. Yeah.
But holy shit, what an incredible moment for them to finally pay homage to Sting. And like, it's something you thought would never, ever happen as us, as kids and as fans. But like, to him, to have him there and to have him beat up on Triple H and to have him have that moment, it was very, very special.
What's Stinger's here?
A 6-time WCW champion, the 2-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
But what the hell
the
is he doing
icon,
here?
The franchise.
The man who's never stepped foot inside WWE's arena before.
Well, what a hell of an impact he's made the first time he did.
Dave Ad.
No, I totally agree with that.
I know what your choices are, Dave. Be very careful because
I might change them a little bit. I don't know. I might.
No, you
change
should.
them
As you should.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, your choices sucked last time, so why don't you change those?
No, they were fine last time.
I'm just kidding.
You in general suck, but the choices were fine.
I'm definitely going back to I remember my first one, and I'm not changing it. And I know we talked about it in another recording. I don't know when they're gonna, like I said, I don't know what's gonna debut first because we got for Sting month, we got quite a few things going down. But what I would say is, whenever I think about Sting, the first thing I think about, and I don't know why that is
Pinning Big Sid Vicious?
No.
Oh.
Sting versus Vader in a strap match.
Jim Ross blowing his O-ring.
From pillar to post.
That was my second one, David.
Yeah.
Dave, say it again. I'm sorry.
Sting versus Vader in a strap match. I think it's 92.
93. Super Bowl 93.
Super Bowl 93.
Super Bowl 3.
Thank you. Super Bowl 3, 93. I can't explain why that match, because according to Jess, he thinks he believes there's better matches with them, and that's probably true. But I can't understand why that match is burned in my brain. But it's one of my favorite Sting moments. We've talked about Sting and Vader quite a bit. We talked about how that feud is definitely underrated, for some reason forgotten by many. And these guys really went at it with each other. They went snug. Sting was able to match Vader's ferocious energy and drive and strength, I felt. And I don't think anybody could have done it better. I mean, I don't want to be a jerk. You put Muscle Man in there. Why can't I think of his name right now? You put oh gosh, Hogan? Yeah, Hogan would be one, but I was thinking of Luger. You put Luger in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's not gonna have the same result. Sting was able to get in there and go, yeah, you can punch me in the face. I'm gonna punch you back. Is that cool? Vader's like, yeah, let's do it. Like, you felt like they had this conversation. And for something that was just kind of thrown together in the beginning, like, we just need you guys to do this. Flair's gone. We need your help here. We need to make this work. And Jess talked about one of the few things that Bill Watts did right, and one of the few things later on, before that, that Vince actually copied with Yokozuna down the line, with a few where he'll actually wins the title.
Dave, this was my number one moment. Like, this was number one of my notes, was Super Brawl 3, the strap match. Like, this is my quintessential Sting moment. So well done.
And I think it is my number one moment. Maybe I should have saved it for last, but it's my number one moment, and it's the first thing I always think about when it comes to Sting. And I don't know why that is, but it's fantastic stuff. And watching those two go, watching Vader actually get some real notoriety. We love Vader. We talk about Vader all the time on this program, and for good reason. Definitely watch his matches, watch this rivalry. I think you won't be disappointed. Jess said it best. There's not a bad Sting Vader match out there that's televised. So check them out. But that's my first.
All good. Let's do round 2 now. I will start out with Bound for Glory 2006 TNA. Sting versus Jeff Jarrett.
Oh dear.
Sting wins only his second NWA Heavyweight Championship here by defeating Jeff Jarrett. He also came out in a hybrid uniform of the Surfer Sting and the Crow Sting, which I loved.
Oh, nice.
And, people are like, what do you mean his second title? So he beat Ric Flair at Great American Bash in 1990, and that was actually for the NWA Heavyweight Championship, which was represented by the big gold belt. But then after that, in 1991, they had a falling out, WCW did, with NWA. So Ric Flair became the first ever WCW Heavyweight Champion of the world. And then any title that Sting beat from Vader or Luger, like along the way, was the WCW Heavyweight Championship. So here, all the way in 2006, he wins his second ever NWA Championship, and the first time he ever won the original belt, which is the 10 pounds of gold. because Flair had the big gold belt at that time when Sting beat him in 90. So that was significant for that. And then his uniform, he didn't come out in the straps, like the Stinger, the Crow Sting. He came out with the Lager tights, like the old Surfer Sting used to come out with, but it was like a hybrid. And then the way he painted his face was his face paint was the full white crow, but he put the color behind Craig. He put the color Sting, the Surfer Sting paint on top of it. So he had both paints on top, and like he was in super good shape.
Talk about this, Jess. You better have a picture up and editing. I'm just
of course I'm gonna put a picture up.
And Jess, I have no concept of TNA Sting. So to those, like, what was the overall consensus, like 60-second elevator pitch of TNA Sting at that point? Like,
I wouldn't even talk specifically on that. I think that that is Sting. Like, he was non WWE the whole time. And except for that period that Craig, you talked about, when he came in Survivor Series, he was only in WWE for a year and a half, and it was for like a handful of matches, if that even, like 3 matches. And one happened to be WrestleMania. But I mean, Sting, to me, his career means the most to me because he was the guy that didn't go. And when Ted Turner finished paying out his contract and after WCW got bought out in 01, he said, I'm not going to WWF. I'm going to go with Jeff Jarrett and start this upstart TNA. And for a while, for the first couple of years, it was just a pay by appearance. And then Sting finally went to Jarrett and said, I want to sign full time. And so he did. He was in TNA for 11 years. He was in Crockett / WCW for 14. So he was almost in TNA as long as he was in WCW. Yeah. And he worked with so many young guys in TNA. That's why his TNA run is so important to me. And the Bound for Glory 06, the Jeff Jarrett match, was a really good match. And Sting kind of threw back the whole, I'm going to combine both my characters. Yeah. And then he went back to the Crow Sting after that. But I mean, for that one night, he kind of paid tribute to the Surfer Sting or whatever. And it was a really good match. And that was Kurt Angle's debut, by the way, that night. And Kurt Angle was special guest referee. So TNA signed Kurt Angle, and they had the main event of Sting and Jarrett. So to me, that was one of my favorite.
It was an incredible time for TNA to have all that
that's good. Yeah, I think that's important how you explain that too.
Yeah, so that is why I kick off.
There's a lot of folks that didn't watch TNA that didn't respect.
No, of course, and they couldn't get it. It wasn't. There was not nearly as many eyes on it as there was WWE.
Look at this! We wondered if there was going to be a transformation. We wondered if Sting, during the 2 months that he took off, might come back with a new look. And check this out! He's not just got a new look. It's obvious he's got a new attitude. And you know what? It still never ceases to amaze me. We heard the crowd when Angle came out. But this is unbelievable. This is deafening. And look at Sting.
Not even doing it
Dave,
justice, but I love
keep going with round 2. Dave, what's your round 2?
Round 2, I am going to... I'm going to stick with what I had before, man. I'm just going to talk about the moment that brings all the moments together in WCW and changes the face and eventually kicks out 83 weeks before it's 83 weeks. And it's Sting turning his back on WCW and walking out because they didn't believe that he was on the proper... basically the WCW locker room didn't believe he was on the proper side because there was a Sting invader, right? He was he was an intruder. Imposter. He wasn't the real Sting. Yeah, an imposter. That's the term. Thank you. He's an imposter. But they're like, well, are you sure that wasn't you? And nobody believed it. He's like, well, you know what? If you guys don't believe me, then there's no reason for me to be here. And he just walked out. And people were shocked. Like, what does that mean?
So to define your moment real quick, Dave, this might be his biggest moment overall. What you're saying, you're describing he's abandoning the Surfer Sting and WCW, and then he eventually starts coming down as the Crow. And I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
I
just
think this might be one of the biggest moments he's ever done.
But for all of the people, all of the commentators, all of the wrestlers, and all of the best friends who did doubt me, you can stick it. From now on, I consider myself a free agent.
But that doesn't mean that you won't see the Stinger from time to time. I'm going to pop in when you least expect it.
And it creates this whole phenomenon of the Crow Sting, who has no friends whatsoever. He completely changes his character, doesn't speak for a year, pretty much. Has no promo work, no interview work, no wrestling, no matches to speak of until it really matters. And it put the whole industry on its ear. And I would argue that the NWO would have gone flat a lot sooner if not for Crow Sting making his moments. And they used it sparingly where it counted. But that whole moment of him walking out, that changed everything. And it kept the NWO alive much longer than it probably could have, because you need to have something against it that mattered. And it was at one point, it was the only thing that was Sting.
Craig,
really creative mind.
What's your round 2 ending the round?
It's a bit of a throwaway. I don't think people would say that it's one of the greatest moments ever, but it's one of my favorite matches, and I don't know why I still harken back to it. It's Halloween Havoc 89 in the Thunderdome.
I love that match. I love that match.
Muta Funk versus Sting and Flair.
Oh wow!
And not necessarily for Sting himself, but there's so much stuff like Sting and flying on the ropes and crashing.
It is for Sting himself, Craig. It was the beginning of him chumming with Flair, and then the Horsemen dumping him out, and then him finally challenging Flair and beating Flair. So it is a big moment.
That is a huge moment. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in there with like the fire in the top and being a monkey and flying using ropes.
Sting swung from the rope. He had a rope and he swung from part of the cage to the other and kicked Muta in the side or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't talk about Sting Muta enough either. There's a lot of things that we don't talk about. Yeah, I got to go back and watch that match. That's been a minute, but yeah.
I like that. So, okay, round 3. I'm just gonna be a homer. Fuck it. Sting versus Flair, Clash of the Champions 1, 1988. Their 45-minute draw.
Someone has to say it.
Someone has to say it. Like it's the thing that put Sting on the main event level. Like he came over. He was with Bill Watts' UWF. Crockett bought the UWF, so Sting came over in late 87. And at the beginning of 88. They were tired of Vince doing bullshit. Like, for example, he created Survivor Series in 87 to go against Starrcade 87 and told cable companies, if you carry Crockett shit, you're not going to get our WrestleMania 4. So a lot of cable companies didn't carry Crockett, and so it fucked them up. And then Vince also decided to create the Royal Rumble. Well, Pat Patterson did, but Vince decided to put it on TV. They put the Royal Rumble in 1988 on free television on USA cable against the Bunkhouse Stampede, which was a pay-per-view of Crockett. Right. So Crockett got sick and tired of dealing with that shit. So when WrestleMania 4 happened in 1988, Crockett's like, on TBS, we're going to have the show called The Clash of the Champions. It was the first ever Clash of the Champions. And the main event was Sting versus Flair. And they went to a 45-minute draw, and Sting decided to take a young guy that had charisma that they noticed that came over from the Bill Watts territory. They were like, this guy's got something. We need to make a new star. And so they had Sting go to a 45-minute draw on free television right up against, and it was they got a great rating and they got a great response. And it put Sting in the main event, like at that point. After that moment, Sting's career was made. And to this day, Sting will tell you, and obviously if Flair is in AEW to pay tribute to Sting along his journey to his last match, Sting will tell you, if it hadn't been for this guy, Ric Flair, recognizing something in me, in my charisma or whatever, my career never would have been as big. Flair started it. So Sting versus Flair, Clash of Champions 1, 1988. is my third moment. For round three.
Flair had to extend it, and I'll tell you right now, like that kind of match, it's all over the internet as one of Sting's top moments too. So it's totally agreeable. But when you think about it,
I took the cheap way out.
it's low hanging fruit, but come on, you have to talk about it. But what I'd say is, I was thinking about when you said it goes up against WrestleMania 4. I can't think of a match that is better in WrestleMania 4 than Sting versus Flair to a draw.
There's none of them. There's none. Not even close.
It's
not even the finals.
Close.
Not even the finals.
It's not even close. When you think about it in hindsight, like that, I'll put your Sting Flair match up against any match at WrestleMania 4. It'll kick WrestleMania 4's ass.
That's why I support TNA and AEW, at the different times.
Because you're going to find gems like that.
You need the second fucking promotion to push back 100%. And be like, no, Vince, no.
We're going to do something a little different. We're going to have something a little bit better somewhere. And you find gems like that. And it's amazing for so many reasons, but I just thought about when you said it went up against WrestleMania 4, I forgot about that, and I'm like, oh god, WrestleMania 4 is such a dumpster fire compared to that match.
Yeah, Craig, round 3, buddy. Last one.
So, Dave mentioned Sting versus Vader, which is fantastic, but I think there's also it shows Sting's unique ability to wrestle with and fight with whatever needs to be done. So I'm going to go with Sting versus Cactus Jack. Falls
oh my God, thank
anywhere.
you for fucking saying that. Thank you. I didn't have that on my list, and I'm embarrassed right now.
It's a great match.
You want to talk about a guy like Sting?
You're talking about that Beach Blast?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
Like, it's just Sting was willing to do whatever it took. Like, it's not a proper baby face like Hogan, like go by the motions. Like, he's willing to work with anybody. He's willing to go grit for grit, like move for move, and take some shit and get hurt and give hurt and make Cactus on 100%. This Beach Blast, like Falls Count.
I'm so embarrassed I didn't have this on my list.
He's just, I like, and the only reason I think about it is because, like, what was that, 92? So you think about it in 2024, he's still doing somersaults off tables, and he's still
putting over the young guys.
Trying to do stuff with Darby Allin on the opponents, and like he's just fearless, and I love him. There'll be no one like him.
No, there's nobody like him. I've got him so jealous. Dave,
it's funny you say that, Craig, because you just talked about Flair just giving Sting that moment and chance, and you have to wonder if that didn't rub off on Sting. Like, I also have to pass the torch when needed and put guys over.
No, it did rub off on him, by the way. It did rub off. That's 100%. Why he does what he does. Yeah.
And that's why you give, most people wouldn't give Cactus the time of day, man. They didn't, oh, look at him. He's not in shape. He's not athletic, but the guy had such a great ring persona and just a ring mind of being able to capture the audience, and the audience fell in love with him over decades. And Sting saw that before most people did and said, no, I'll do stuff with you. No, I'll take that move. And Cactus like, you'll take the move? Like Cactus was surprised. Like, you're going to take that move? Yeah. Why not? Why wouldn't I? And if you just try to cookie cutter that, or like I said, just make it because Sting is bigger than life or bigger than you, it's not as good of a match. But because Sting is willing to work with people, that's a great match and it's a great moment. And that's why, again, Craig, we love Sting, man. Awesome.
Where's he going to take him? Back to the ropes. That's where. And elevation right on the ramp. Remember, a thin piece of carpet just for the aesthetics covering it. And Sting takes him face down. Man, a skull right there. Going for the cover, and Cactus kicks out.
I'll tell you what, a match like this where pinfalls go anywhere, this match could end in 30 seconds or it could take a half hour. You don't know which.
So Dave, finish off round 3 and take us home, buddy.
Okay, I'm going to try to take this home. This is the one I'm going to change because it's a somber moment and it's a tough one in hindsight. But I want to go with the very last Nitro match ever televised, shutting it down, is Sting versus Flair. Not because the match was so great. It's just because of the iconic moment
I think
itself.
Flair was in a shirt, wasn't he?
Yeah, Flair wrestled in a shirt, even though he wasn't in terrible shape. It just he had no confidence left. He was getting destroyed by the brass at that time, and It was so bad. But Flair had gone through that before, but as you get older, it starts to wear on you, I think. And Sting's like, no, we're going to do this, and I think like Flair didn't want to be in the last match, but when he found out, I think you said this, Jesse, when he found out it was Sting, he's like, well, I got to do it.
It
But
was
he wrestled
it
with a
was
shirt on.
it was either Pritchard. Well, I mean, Vince mandated it, but Pritchard or Shane called Sting, and they said, "Hey, you're still under contract. Do you want to do the last Nitro?" And Sting was like, "Against who?" And he was like, "Flair." He's like, "I'll be there." He's like, "It's
Yes,
fine."
I'll do it.
Like, so yeah, Sting had been off TV for a bit, I think, like, or whatever, because WCW was a mess. And
Right.
Sting agreed to come in and do it against Flair. And then that's when Sting called Flair and said, like, you got to help me. You got to do this. And he's like, I'm not confident, man. He's like, I don't care what you have to do. He's like,
Aw.
you'll be fine. We'll be fine. And so, yeah, Flair put a T-shirt on and went out there, and they did like Dave said, it was a total shell of their original formula, which they had done a
It's
million
an
times,
homage
which
of
is
their great
fine.
matches, right?
Which is fine, but and then Sting would end up beating him in the Scorpion Deathlock and pinning him, and we're
And
not
they
pinning
hugged.
him, making him
They
submit,
hugged. Yeah, they
making him
hugged
submit, and
after.
then he helped Flair up and hugged him at the end or whatever. And it is fitting. It's not fitting in the sense of like, God, WCW just died with the whimper, didn't it? But like it was. I'm so glad that they decided to have Flair and Sting, because Flair and Sting were on the first Nitro against each other.
Yes.
So
That's
it's like,
incredible. It's fucking great. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So I always think about that, and it, don't forget that it brought off the Invasion, which wasn't as good as we thought. But that night which is another iconic, not a Sting moment necessarily, but the iconic moment of Shane telling his dad that it does say McMahon on the contract.
Yeah.
But it says Shane.
And I like that the WWF brass. I can't remember if it was Pritchard or Shane. They reach out to Sting and they're like, please do this. Like, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, at least they respected it too, right? A little bit.
Yeah.
It seemed. So they wanted to do something to finish it in a respectful way,
Yeah.
And and I don't know if everybody that was still there that was willing to do anything, because Hogan wasn't going to do anything. Hall and Nash weren't going to do shit. I mean, to really put it respect. So you had to call those guys. Those are the real WCW guys. Those are the guys. Those are the OGs.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's a lot more, guys. I know Jess usually says, look, it's our opinions, and we probably have 10 more of these episodes of great Sting moments, because they don't. There's so many great times that we can talk about, and stuff that I have listed that didn't make it to the top 3 on each side, but there'll be more, and we'd love to hear your comments of what your favorite stuff is. Put them in the comments, man, right below. Hit that YouTube button and tell us what you like about Sting, man. Please.
Yes.
You guys Craig, you want to close this out, man? What do you got?
No, love you, Sting. We're gonna miss you, Sting. I can't wait to see the Greensboro finale. And if anything, we need you more than ever. Like your pureness and everything that you are. Like, God damn it! Like, we didn't respect you enough when you were around, and when you're not around, we will miss you.
Yeah, you kind of, it's so effortless. You kind of take it for granted, right? And I'll tell you,
1,000%.
While he 100% deserves to be completely done with the sport and go be with his family, I honestly hope he helps. He continues to help on the back end, backstage, and help people, which he probably would do. But if he doesn't want to, I can respect that, man. You've earned every right. I can't believe you're still doing it and making sacrifices for others, man. We love you for that. So. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you give us a follow on Instagram at O.W.P 2019 or on Facebook and X at Our Wrestling Podcast? For Craig, Justin, Dave, this is the O.W.P signing off. Have a good one.